So a lot of people, there's confusion. That's not New York City. A lot of people think that Buffalo is kind of like a borough of New York City, but it's not. It's a whole separate city.
I've lost you. Hello? Let's not worry. You will hopefully return. Let me just have a look at Discord. Ah, it's not like fresh popcorn to mysteriously disappear, is it?
Yeah. So no, you know what it is? It's the DAW that I use, the software, it automatically switches the input on the computer. So where do we leave off?
Hello and welcome to Skylines Talk, the new chat show for Cities Skylines, where we'll go behind the Sims and meet some of the brightest, most creative minds in the Cities Skylines community. Find out what makes them tick and maybe even learn a tip or two. Who am I? I'm BonBonB, and you are very, very welcome.
Come here now, girl.
Hello Fresh Popcorn and welcome to Skylines Talk.
Hello, BonBonB. That's your, wait, how do you say, is that like your full YouTube name? Or like...
That is my YouTube name, yes. And I'm waiting for somebody to ask me where I got my name from, but that's one of my first questions for you, coming along in a moment. So before we get started, I'll just throw in this, because I know a lot of people will be wondering. So obviously you are, for want of a better word, the most controversial guest I've ever had on this show. But for me, everyone is more than just one incident in their life. And while we will cover that incident later, I'm intending to treat you, as I have done with all my previous guests, as a skilled and talented creator. So if that's good with you, we'll crack on. Yeah?
That is good with me, yeah.
Excellent. Right, so do I call you Fresh or Popcorn, or is there something else that you prefer?
Oh, wow. Well, like, back in the day, for lack of a better term, everyone just called me Fresh, because that was just what the nickname became in all the comments and on the videos and with all the other creators. So you can just go ahead and call me Fresh if you're comfortable with that.
I'm very happy with that. Okay, Fresh. So where did the name Fresh Popcorn originate from?
So yeah, the name was basically in my basement where I started this YouTube channel. There is a popcorn machine in the basement. It's actually kind of like a it's hard to explain, but it's like a mixed use room. It's just like my little area. There's a movie theater in it, and that's why there's a popcorn machine. And I remember one day I was talking with my buddy. Actually, I had that cross-country series, and it was my buddy Eric who was in it with me. And I was like, I'm going to start a YouTube channel doing like city builder games. And I'm going to name it something, really simple and almost kind of like as a joke, and just like do it for fun. And there's no intention of it ever becoming serious. And then we're hanging out in my basement, and I looked at the popcorn machine, and I'm like, I'm just going to name it Fresh Popcorn. And I think like it was kind of like a joke. And it stuck. And I think it like was a huge plus when I started my channel, was like the simplicity of it. And I credit, well, I mean, we'll get to this later, but I credit a lot of the success and stuff like to the name, to be honest. Like it was like, I don't know, I feel like you can remember the name very easily. Like, I mean, I'm gonna ask you a question. Like, would you agree that that name is like easy to remember?
It is easy, yeah.
I mean, to sum it down, in a shorter version, it's just literally a popcorn machine in my basement, and it was just a joke. So
excellent. Well, like I say, you lucked out there, didn't you?
Yeah.
Tell me a little about yourself, where you're from, what you do for work, and what hobbies you have when you're away from the computer.
So yeah, I am from Buffalo, New York, just a suburb outside of the city. It's basically the country, and it's not New York City. So a lot of people think that it's New York City, especially people like from all over the world, because we're reaching all over the world on YouTube, and a lot of people. Actually, I traveled to Italy, and they were like, "Oh, you're from Buffalo? Okay, that's New York City, right?" Like they think it's a borough of New York City, but it's not. It's a separate city. And basically, what I do for work is I work in a family business, and I do lighting design, and it's just like an industrial scale lighting design type of work. It's pretty interesting. It's cool. Not totally my passion, but it is like a good starting place in my career. Being 24 years old, like I think I'm kind of in a spot where it's you don't land that kind of job till you're older, more experienced. So I'm kind of
Yeah.
thankful for that. And then the other hobbies I have when I'm away from the computer are definitely music. I tour actually in a couple bands, which is something not a lot of people know. But yeah, I do play the drums, and I play in a couple groups pretty much every weekend, and that's a huge passion for me, and it's also a huge reason why there's like long breaks between videos, which we'll get to later. But that, and then just like I get really into like healthy living, I guess. Like I don't really know how to explain it. Like I love going to the gym, and I love like eating really healthy meals. Like I don't know if people on YouTube know this, but like I don't drink or anything. Like the only thing I've actually drank for the last like 5 years is like water. Like I don't drink pop. I don't drink alcohol, like anything. Like I'm really weird. So that's kind of
Not even coffee. Not even coffee.
I have never drank coffee in my life.
Oh my god.
I don't really do caffeine. I just don't. I don't know. I don't know. Like I guess I was like 18 years old, and I graduated high school, and I was like, you know what? Like I was kind of like a chubby kid in high school. Not like bad. I was just kind of like, you know. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna like turn this around. And then it just it was like a 6-month test of like only drinking water. And then it just never really stopped. Like I just, I like the way I felt. Like you just feel really good, and it just never ended. So that, I don't know if you'd call that a hobby, but like just that lifestyle is also a thing too.
No, I mean the water is healthy. I mean if I could get off the coffee, that would that would help. Yeah. But there we go, excellent. So how was it you started playing Cities Skylines?
So my buddy, who was a big computer guy, kind of a nerdy kid, but we were really good friends through high school. And he knew that I really liked playing like the old SimCity 4 and the old Roller Coaster Tycoon games. And he would help me like build my computers, and then we'd build these awesome computers, and then he'd be like, what are you going to use it for? And I'd be like, I don't know, like SimCity 4. And like, you know,
yeah,
this was like 10 years after the game had come out. So it was just a complete overkill. And I never really used it for like modern day gaming. And then one day, well, I mean, long story short is, I was dating this girl who, her brother and this other kid that I was talking about were really good friends. And they were at his house, and we all went over, and they were playing this game, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. And it's like a modern day builder. And then I had played, what the heck is it, like SimCity Societies or whatever, like that weird one was.
Oh yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I never liked it. Like I was like, it just feels like cartoony and weird.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, this I could probably get into, like this Cities Skylines thing. And I remember playing it vanilla. I downloaded it on my computer, and like, I was like, wow, this is all right. And then I got into it, and I never modded. And then I just learned about modding and learned how to do it. I wasn't really computer savvy. I didn't really know much about it, especially on PC side of things. I was kind of a Mac user for a long time until this. And then it basically just evolved from there. So it was like relationships and knowing people, and it just friends introduced me to the game, and that was kind of it. But I mean, like I said, I always played city builders. Like when I was a kid, I was like 5 years old. All I wanted to do was play, it was like SimCity 3000 and stuff like that. So
of course, SimCity 3000. Yeah, that shows my age. I'm a since 2000 boy myself.
Oh yeah.
When I wasn't allowed to play it much. Married around that time as well, so I wasn't allowed many hours.
Oh Jesus. Oh man, I was literally like, I don't know, 2. Like.
So anyway, tell me a little bit about your old YouTube Let's Play, Sam Minato. What the inspiration was, and did you have an end goal?
Oh, so Sam Minato was like my masterpiece. It was supposed to be, because it was like basically, I would basically watch all the other series. Before I started my channel, I would watch Corrales, and I'd watch Strict Toaster and Flux, and you know, all the other whoever the big ones were at that time. I think I watched Dylan or Conflict Nerd play, and I mean, he wasn't as detailed as these other guys, but I still just watched him for the entertainment. And I took all this inspiration, mostly from Corrales, I would admit. And I was like, all right, I'm going to start my YouTube channel and I'm going to build this city. And it's going to be something completely different where there's like, it's like a challenging terrain and like, and all this stuff. And it turned into like, I think a really cool thing because it was something no one had really ever seen before. Especially like, I don't know if you remember like the first videos were like, I didn't really do anything. Like I didn't grid out streets or anything like that. I like built power plants and like bridges and stuff in the mountains. And the inspiration from that is basically like, so I've mentioned this a lot in the series back in the day, but it would be like me and my family would always go camping up in like upper New York State. It's the Adirondack Mountain State Park up there. And I just basically built like what I had seen up there in the game, like just similar styles of roadways and like the trees and like how there's so many little lakes and ponds and like waterways up there. And that was kind of the idea of all these mountains and lakes and stuff zigzagging through the map. So that was kind of the inspiration. And then the end goal turned into like, I mean, through the fans, or I don't know if you want to call it like just viewers and the comments, the end goal turned into, hey, you have to make this. This is a West Coast, you know, Northwest USA city. This is Seattle, or this is Portland, Oregon, stuff like that. So that's what the end goal became was, okay, you know, let's take these routes and, you know, plop it from the East Coast. Let's move it to the West Coast. And that's what the end goal became. And I think it kind of became impossible, I guess. And I mean, we'll get to that later, but yeah, that's kind of the inspiration and the end goal.
Right. So how was it impossible?
Well, I guess at that time it became like it's I mean, you've played the game, you understand like the load on a computer when you have so many assets and not necessarily mods, but assets and also agents in the game, right? So cars, people traveling, commuting, stuff like that. And my computer at the time was good. I mean, it was a strong machine, but it could not handle. I mean, I would load the game, and that was this was before. I mean, this is way back now. So a lot of people who, you know, don't know about this series, like it was way back before like the loading screen mod or like the whatever the mod is that like fixes the loading time and stuff like that, and like whatever, no more Steam or whatever that stuff is, like so it was like 30-minute load times, like and it became impossible to like record. I mean, I could still do it, but like making the episodes took like forever, not because I was making them longer with more content or whatever, but because it was like the actual creation time, just actually like letting the computer run, like trying to run the game and trying to record everything, it just took forever. So
3 frames a second kind of deal.
Yeah. And that was, I mean, I remember everyone knows him as Jay, like Bisquagelhausen. Like that was, I think he was always advising to me. He's like, hey, like, you know, this is never gonna finish, at least not smoothly, because it's like, I mean, he wasn't discouraging me, but he was just saying like, you know, like there's so much detail, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it was always, you know, encouraging, like he would encourage me to keep pushing for it, but like there was always the kind of reminder of like, hey, you know, it could get to be too much, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of why it didn't work out. I mean, of all the things that happened, like, of course I would have kept going with it, but it just became so heavy, you know?
Right, let's move on then. Skirting around all the controversy for now, let's talk a little bit about Arrowhead Junction. Who had the initial idea for the collaboration? Whose idea was it to build a desert city? And were there any pre-built specifics that you personally suggested?
Right, so that series, that collab, that was my idea. And I don't want to... I'm not saying like, you know, pounding my chest and being like, yeah, that was my idea, but I'm just saying like it was, because basically what happened is me and Eric took that cross-country trip, and we met Strict Toaster in Los Angeles. When we were there, we did a 3-day stay in Santa Monica where we had met him for like a coffee bar, I guess, one morning. Although, of course, I didn't have coffee.
Of course.
And essentially, we just chatted for like a half hour about just nothing related to the game. And then we kind of started talking about like this. I think we touched on a collab idea, but nothing really came of it. And then later that evening, I was on the little balcony I was at an Airbnb out on the beach, kind of, or near the beach, and we're chatting. And then I'm like, hey, let's get Flux in. And I had never talked to Flux at this point. And then we all joined in a Skype call. This is way back when Skype was a thing, more popular. And I remember just being like, yo, we should do a collab. And I was like, listen, we have the perfect like separation of channels, right? Like you have Flux. I think he had over 100,000 subs at the time. And he was pretty much like the household name of like, you know, simulation games, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And then you had Strict, who he's about like 40 or 50,000 subs. And he was just like that guy that like always just did really good, like awesome work, like no matter what. Like it was just like, and anything he did, like, do you ever like meet people in the world who are like always smarter than you no matter what?
Like everybody, yes.
Yeah, like that's kind of like how it was, you know, he just like had this likable like thing about his channel. And then I was like, you know, I just hit 10,000 subs and I was like, hey, you know, I'm new, I'm the little guy, but I have a ton of traction right now. And I was like, you put us three together. I was like, I think that's a huge like powerhouse, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think Flux was he was like, yeah, that'd be an awesome idea. You know, I don't want to talk for the other guys just out of respect.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I remember that conversation and it was just like kind of a cool moment to be like, wow, like this is a cool thing that like this could actually happen. As far as the desert, who was it, you know, whose idea was it? I don't, man, I can't remember. I want to say that, I thought, because I had just driven through to get to Los Angeles. We had just driven through like New Mexico and Arizona. And we had been in Death Valley. And I think I was thinking about a desert city. And I think I had mentioned it in my chat with Strict as like my next project after Sam Minato. And then that became the idea for the, you know, for the collab. But I think that was kind of like a group decision. But I think I had been previously like inspired by just driving through it, you know? So, and I don't know about, I think we all talked about, you know, like what we were going to build, you know, like, hey, this is how we're going to design. It's going to be this size city and we're going to build like these features. But I can't really remember any like specifics that I suggested. I mean, I think oil fields might have been one. So, yeah.
So yeah, after you left the collaboration, did you follow the series and have you been back and checked to see how it went?
So when I left, I did not watch any Cities Skylines videos for like, I don't know, weeks or months. Like I just didn't want anything to do with it and I just blocked it out of my life. And then I checked into a live stream. I think Strict was live streaming with Besquegelhausen as a guest. And I like said hello, and then people were like, oh, it's like a fake Freshpopcorn account. And then people realized it was really me. And they were like, oh my God, it's like the real guy. Holy, you know, holy shit. And then, and then they like said hello, like in the stream. And then I like, just like left. So basically, yeah, I mean, I kept up with it and I watched like the last couple episodes that they posted. And then the one where they like answered questions about me and whatever. And I just like listened. And it was weird because I was like listening and I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool. This is like a cool story. Like there was 3 guys and then there was 2 and one was like a dick. And then the other 2 were like really cool. And then like, you know, and then they talk about like this guy. And then I'm like, it's me. And it's like so weird because it's like, I don't know, like you're like, I guess we live in a time where the internet is like as real as anything, but like you can kind of be like, hey, like, you know, it's just anything on the internet. Like it's not real, like whatever, you know, I didn't do anything wrong. It's like, it's just the internet. But, you know, there's real people that watch this and there's real people behind the building and real guys who I consider myself friends with, working with me. And I mean, we were definitely like profiting off it. We were making money off of it. And it was like, I just kind of like blew it up. I mean, I guess then I kind of felt bad. I'm like, damn, like, you know, like it kind of hit me. So I did, like I said, it was like a little bit of a gap, and then I did keep up with it toward the end.
Well, I would say, just to skirt over what I understand to be the basic details of it, because obviously we can go into as much detail as you like now. The basic background for those who are going, who's this Fresh Popcorn that you're talking to? He sounds interesting. Anyway, you had a successful channel. You were collaborating on Arrowhead with Strict and Flux. Then you obviously literally just disappeared, deleted everything, no word to anybody, and since then you have come back, you have apologised, you put up your apology video, you've spoken to Strict and Flux in person and apologised for that as well, and also to your subscribers. And that's really all you can do. The past is the past. But what actually happened?
So, I don't know, like, it's hard to explain. I guess it's, you know, it's life. I mean, you grow up, I guess. I think you grow up every day, like in weird ways. And, I don't know. I'm not like, I'm not into that, like, you know, philosophical thinking. I don't get too wrapped up in it, but I think like, I really think that like making decisions every day, obviously drives the direction of your life. And I guess what was happening is like, I just didn't like, honestly, like I didn't like what I was doing. Like, so let me give you an idea. Like I really like playing builder games and stuff like that. But like, I mean, this might come as a shock to people, but like, I think like some video games are just like dumb. Like I just don't, I just, like I see commercials for like, new games that are coming out, and I'm like, I like cringe. I'm like, man, like that culture behind it, it just like bugs me. And I'm not saying I have anything against people who play these games. Like, I don't care. I mean, I'm sure I would enjoy them if I actually gave them a chance. It's just like, I have this like internal feeling. And then I think I started to associate that with builder games. And I think there's definitely a different feeling behind those games. 'Cause it's like an intellectual, and creative platform to, you know, express yourself and to think, and you overcome problems and you make solutions. And I think I was losing touch with that and just kind of thinking like, oh, it's just a video game. And then it got to a point where I just, you know, I disappeared. I just literally, all I did is just sign out of YouTube on my computer and just like didn't look at it. Like it was just very simple. And I just kind of needed like a break. And then I didn't really know about all the pileup of people like freaking out about where I was. And then I started reading like I read like every Reddit thread about me.
Yeah. Like
every word, like all the horrible insults and everything. Like I read it all. And it was just like people like ripping me apart and then like worried about where I was. And I was like, wow, people really care or like are concerned about like this Fresh Popcorn like figure that I've created. Cause like I tried to disassociate myself with like, okay, there's me, like there's David, and then there's Fresh Popcorn, like the separate entities. Like I am not Fresh Popcorn and Fresh Popcorn is not me. You know what I mean? Like it,
yeah.
It became like it became my life, and I needed to like break it. I needed to separate it. Just like people say, like, don't let work become your life kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then honestly, one day I woke up at like 3 in the morning, and I walked over to my computer, my laptop, and I opened it up and signed in to my Fresh Popcorn YouTube and like deleted the channel, didn't even think about it, and went back to sleep. And like woke up the next day and just like went about life. Like just, that was it. Like, and that is just whatever. Like it just ended. Like, so
kind of like I mean, an emotional overload is probably not the right word, emotional, but just an overload of pressure that you put upon yourself, maybe.
Yeah, and it's like, it's not even, it's weird because people are like, any outsider can be like, oh, you know, it's just a YouTube channel. It's just like, you're just playing video games. Like, it's so easy. It's so much, it's fun. And like, but it's like not. It's weird. Like you feel like, I guess looking back now, before I say what I'm about to say, looking back, I needed to learn that you need to, when you're away from the computer, you need to just let it go. But I would carry it with me wherever I went, which I've learned is not a way to do any kind of work. But basically it was becoming like just this pressure all the time of like, you know, like I need to produce and like everything needs to be perfect and like my videos need to be the best and like I'm growing so fast and I need to live up to that. And like I was getting paychecks like every month for like just playing video games, and it's like kind of surreal. You're like, what? And then like I bought my car, and like I had used like a ton of the money from YouTube to like buy this car, and I'm like, this is so great. And then I just felt like weird, and I just, between my regular full-time job and YouTube and music, I had no time for relationships. Like I just had lost a lot of friends, and it was just like the balance of life like became like all toward like 3 working situations, and it just never was, I never had a chance to breathe, and I just went about it in a really immature way of just blowing one of them up. So
right, so obviously you're an experienced YouTuber and I'm a relatively small channel. What can I do to replicate your beginnings to grow to a size where I could possibly become a full-time professional? And is there anything other than what you've just said as a pitfall that I should avoid?
So yeah, like to answer your question, I used to get all these emails from, I would assume kids, and they'd be like, can you give me a shout out, or can you help me grow and stuff? And it came down to this point where everyone wanted to just grow their channel. And it was like, hey, like last week you had like 4 subscribers and now you have like 37,000. Like, what did you do? And it was like, to be truthful, the biggest thing I think is like an honest effort in your channel. I think people can hear and tell in your videos. Like, I don't script my videos, right? Like I don't plan anything. I just start talking, and I mean, sure, like I develop like some intro techniques and some exit techniques, and you know, you get the idea. But everything was like very truthful, like from the heart, you know, kind of like just a regular guy, you know,
yeah,
playing video games and kind of just having fun. And I think people really connected with that, you know. I think people really like just really jived with that, and I think that's why they just loved watching the videos, because it was like just an honest effort. I think like if you watch someone like Corrallus, right, a big, you know, example, because he's just got so many followers and views.
Yeah,
love his videos. I have nothing against him, and you just watch him. But do you ever feel like this? It's like he's so big, you know, that you don't relate to him, because it's like, oh, he's so good on so many levels, and you just can't relate. And I think looking back, because I have some old archives of my old videos, and watching and listening to myself, I'm very honest about it. I'm just like, man, like this was tough. Or I'll discuss like issues I had, and I get excited like if I figure something out or something works out really well. And I think people really like that. So it was like the biggest thing was like just this truthful effort behind it. And I guess things to avoid is just like you need to give yourself time. Like you need to, like, I didn't give myself any time for myself, and it was just like it was a mistake. And it just, because you want to keep going, like you want to give everyone, you know, you want to be like, yeah, I'm going to give you more videos and more videos and more deliver. And like, you want to make these people happy, that are supporting you. And like, really, they're so excited to see you, and like, you want to appease them. And it's like, you just can't. And like, most people understand, but there's those handful of people who are just like, oh, you know, he didn't post a video this week, so like, you know, like he's obviously failing, or like, you know, he doesn't care about us and stuff like that. And they don't get it. Like there's some people just don't get it, and you can't listen like to those people. And I didn't, but I think eventually it just piled up so much where I just got pissed, and I was like, well, screw all of you, because like, you know, and that was just like the worst decision. But You know, I wanted to prove a point, and I don't know. I mean but definitely don't delete your channel. Is the biggest thing you should avoid. And if you need a break, just like be like, hey, you know, I'm taking some time, and yeah, like I just give yourself a couple days. So
like I say, yeah, my subscribers are pretty good like that, always telling me to take a break, but I'm okay for now. But if it does get on top of me, then you know, I do reserve the right to put everything on hold for a week, which is good. Right, anyway, so what is next for you? This is what everybody wants to know. Are you going to look to try and get back into broadcasting full time? Or are you going to do any more work on the Port Lucia? Or do you have anything else that maybe you might be going for?
Yeah, so I'm not done. Like basically I returned to YouTube because everything was kind of slowing down. The winter season is kind of winter fall, I guess, like back in October, November, is like a little bit slower time musically for me. So I was just like, all right, we'll get back into this, you know, I'll come back, you know, I'll apologize, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then it picks back up in January. So music wise, and I just got, you know, with the holiday months and everything, I just didn't post anything, but I'm still around and I'm not gone. Would I like to return full time? I mean, maybe. It just depends on like if the right circumstances and the right situation arises. But I definitely want to continue the Port Lucia series. I have a couple people making some custom things for me, and a lot of people who helped me design the idea of the series. So I want to, you know, follow that through for sure. And then bigger plans, I'm not really sure. I maybe expand my reach on YouTube. I'm not exactly completely sure, and that's fine. Like, it'll come to me if it's the right thing to do. So that's kind of where I'm at.
That's cool. And while we've still got music in the back of our head, what sort of genre do you partake in?
So I play a lot of different things, and the reason being is because I have to be versatile for a couple groups I'm in. So like locally here, I'm in like a wedding band, and it's like I have to be able to play, you know, like standards from Frank Sinatra, like swing tunes, all the way up to, you know, the rock and roll stuff like that, and then every dance song that's ever been written, you know, from Stevie Wonder to Bruno Mars to, you know, Justin Timberlake, stuff like that, where like pop music. So I have to be able to be well versed in all that type of stuff. So my personal like favorite type of music to drum is like funk music, because it's just so like you can really dig into it, and I like that. So
right, okay, well, before we sign off, of everybody in the Cities Skylines community, who would you like to see in the next series of Skylines Talk?
You could try, I love talking to Besquegglehausen. He's like so insightful about the game, and like he's a smart dude, like just the mechanics behind the game and how it works, and like the modding and like modeling things that he does, like his trains and stuff. It's incredible. And he's relatively accessible, so I'd love to see him on this series.
All right, excellent. Well, I'll give him a shout and I'll quote you. Excellent.
Tell him that Freshpopcorn sent you, and he'll be happy to chat.
Fantastic. Well, thanks very much for giving up your time today. It's been great chatting with you, and I do wish you every success with your channel, with your music, and with life in general.
Thanks, man. Definitely same thing to you as well.